Okay, this video is about the 2025 film Obsession by Curry Baker, and that's all I need for that. I'm just going to talk about the film. I really, really enjoyed it. We just saw it in theaters, me and my brother and his girlfriend. Anyway, so an amazing film. That's all I really want to say about it to start. I mean, it's something different, something interesting. Um, it really feels unique compared to many horror films these days. I think that's why it's getting the attention that it's getting. I'm trying to try and keep this first portion maybe like spoiler free, like things that I liked about the film without exactly saying. And here's what happens, because I like to. I didn't go into this movie knowing anything about it other than I had seen like the grumpy face. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. But um, I really love the way the film is shot and the way that they are making things uncomfortable. It seems like a lot of the horror in this one. I guess I'm going to talk a little bit about things, but I won't give specific details away. What I really liked in this film is that they really lean into unsettling horror and not just shock value horror. There's tons and tons of tension building scenes where you're just in dread of what is about to happen. There's plenty of times when it's happening, and I love like the main thing that's horrifying is that it's so awkward for everybody who does not know what the hell is happening, which is basically everybody. Like it's just so awkward. It's like, is anybody going to do anything, or are we just going to watch this happen? And that is basically what happens for the entire thing. Is people don't know how to like intervene. Okay, the movie's called Obsession. We can talk a little bit about what is happening. It is essentially a movie where someone gets a little bit too in love for everybody's good. Um, it really it. People do crazy things concerning love, right? Um, and this is a one of the worst case scenarios that could happen, I suppose, right? It's fictional. It's completely fiction. You don't have to worry about it. There's no demons that are going to come out of frame in my basement here, or mother's basement, and you're safe. Keep that in mind when you watch a horror movie. And if you're not prepared to see a horror movie where you might feel like some demon's gonna clutch onto your shoulder and follow you home, none of this is gonna happen. Okay, so don't worry about it. But it's not for the faint of heart, though. You know what I mean? It had me creeped out, man. The one particular scene where that I would say, okay, this is horrifying. And pretty much everything after that, it kind of has the same ending arc. Not really, but it has the same intensity to me as a movie like Hereditary, where like everything is set, all the dominoes are stood up, and it's finally time to topple them over. And it's just, and I love it. I love when that type of stuff happens and it's executed so well. Um, we'll go a little bit further before we get into like exactly just talking it over and why I like it, why what I do and don't like, what I love, what's amazing, and just kind of sing its praises for a little bit. Mostly, this is a a fantastic movie. So if you're interested, this is probably a good time to stop listening to me and go see this movie and support this movie. This is an amazing movie. All the cast did a great job. This guy's been crushing it for years, from like YouTube to now. I mean, I haven't followed everything. In fact, this might be the first thing I've fully seen, but I've heard about him, and it's really interesting stuff. Anyway, so yeah, what is the what? Maybe here's a recommendation why you shouldn't watch this movie. You shouldn't watch this movie if you are afraid, if you're like in a really bad relationship, and you don't want to really, I don't know, deal with that, or are not prepared to deal with it in a healthy way. Sometimes a conversation needs to be had. Let's say that, and it can be really hard to have those conversations, because most of the time it's going to lead to maybe like 10% of the time like some sort of healthy resolution, or maybe even continuation of the relationship. And a lot of times it might just be like, yo, it's not going to work, or it's going to be over. Both of those conversations could be something that could happen in this film. And if you're sitting next to somebody, maybe you wouldn't want to be in that position, but it's just a movie. So, I mean, you know what I mean? But if somehow like those topics actually scare you, like at a emotional level, maybe you should avoid this one. But anyway, I think that's all. Like, I don't know how to like do the spoiler free shit. I can't do it. I just want to talk about what are the characters doing, and really get into that. Give me 1 second, all right? All right. So, what is actually going on in this movie? Well, basically, this is a movie that centers on a man who's stuck in the friend zone. His name's Bear, And we're just gonna. I don't know. This is the only way I know how to do this. We're just gonna talk about it exactly. So Bear's highly, highly in love with his coworker Nikki, and this whole friend group, this whole movie basically centers around these four people, but mostly the two, and kind of what exactly is happening, right? So Bear is desperately in love with his coworker Nikki, and Bear is not in a good position. Let me talk about Bear so that we can explain his actions as he proceeds through the movie. I feel like this is an important thing for me to talk about. I really love thinking about what is a character thinking? What are they doing? What do they want? What's getting in their way? How are they going to achieve it? So let's talk about Bear. Bear is, we're going to spoil everything now. We're going to tell him what is on reflection. I would want you to watch this before I talk about this, because it's otherwise it's going to suck. It would suck if, you had this, if you know this thing I'm going to talk to you about. Ian and Bear are best friends. They work at the restaurant. Sarah and Nikki are the two other girls that all work at this music store. Honestly, the details are a little fuzzy on. I don't know. It didn't seem to matter too much. They were just slacking off anyway. Fuck it. You know what I mean? I don't know what age bracket these kids are supposed to be in. Probably they're just post college, in college. I'm not even sure. I honestly wasn't paying attention to that. Maybe, I don't know. It's my bad. Anyway, but they're young kids. They can drink. They can go to the bar. But there's still one of the girls, Sarah's applying for med school, or not med school, but art school, and she's not been getting accepted. And, she's saying, oh, maybe I slacked off too much in high school. This kind of is a little band of maybe people that are falling behind, let's just say. We're not really sure. Just kind of, an average group of American, young 20-year-olds that are friends, and they work a job. Good setting, it's a relatable. Anyway, so these guys, Ian and, attractive girls, relatively whatever guys, I'm sure they're attractive. Okay. Anyway, it's just a group of friends, there's chemistry. It's fun. It seems like they've been going to school for a long time. They seem to have a history in the film. They talk about, you told me this one time. Nikki doesn't remember. But Sarah says some things that she remembers some things with this character, Bear. And okay, let's talk about pairing. One true pairs, baby. What is your fucking couple of... Okay, Sarah and Bear are really the ones that should be together. It's one of those films where Bear is more interested in the hotter girl. I get basically, right? Let's just say it's that. He is more interested romantically in pursuing something with Nikki, and he's like her boy best friend, basically, right? He's in that fucking trap, dude. Anyway, so Bear is just really wanting Nikki, but and not really seeing Sarah properly. They're friends, longtime friends even. This whole group seems to have some, pretty long-time friendship. Ian's his best friend, by all appearances. They have a lot of shared history. The beginning of the film's funny. Let's talk about the beginning of the film for just a brief moment, because it kind of sets the scene now that we have those basic relationships identified and characters. Bear and Ian are at a diner, and Ian's confessing his love to this woman. You don't know anybody yet. So she's just immediately confessing his love. It's hilarious. It just pulls you right into the page, right? They don't have to give you all the shit that I just gave you. I love how they can, just make the story start right there. So he's confessing his love. He wants to say, Nikki, I love you. Now, here's the thing that you would not know until you rewatch the film, which I would love to do. I might go see it again, but maybe it's too much for my soul. But anyway, so Ian is basically trying to coach him how to do this, and they have somehow... dude, this is really terrorizing. This is really terrorizing. This is real horror. This is the horror that can affect you, really. Is they somehow recruit this poor waitress to be his, person that receives the it's like play acting, right? He's like, I'm gonna give my confession. You give me your critiques. Is she gonna like it? Is it gonna sound creepy? Whatever, right? This is normally, you would keep this to Sarah should probably be the one that is, here critiquing this, if anything. But it's just this random waitress, and it's just funny. And eventually, they dismiss her from the scene. She's like, I can go? She's like, do you want me to go? She kind of wanted to stay. She was loving it. She was like, yeah, this guy's, he's in love. She's loving it. It's so funny. Anyway, but the problem here is that Ian is a demon, actually. He's been fucking Nikki for 2 years. Nothing, they just like each other more, he's Chad or whatever. I don't know. This guy seems to be Chad. Nikki likes him, and they have a little thing, but it's not official, and nobody even knows. But Ian's still like, yeah, dude, you can have her. He's like a fucking dick, right? He's really mean That's not cool, to be sleeping with the girl that your friend is madly in love with, and you're just kind of playing with them because you know that maybe she likes you more. Maybe you like her a lot. But, whatever. It's one of those relationships, the situationship shits, for lames. For lames. Anyway. So, what's next? Anyway, so Bear's a fucking pussy. That's really what the problem with the movie really is. Bear's got no cojones. All right? He won't be the type of man, I guess, that Nikki actually would want. She really does see him as like the little brother type. Classic trap, man. He's too nice for his own good. He's a pussy. So it's a problem. Anyway, that's basically what happens. He wants to confess. They're doing their thing. It's like Friday night. This part of the movie happens pretty fast. It's like, oh, who should take her home? I'll take her home. Bear takes her home, and this is where it's weird. For some reason, before the party, Bear goes to like, and I don't know what you want to call it, like an occult shop. And, they sell various knickknacks that have spiritual powers and, whatever. I thought it was going to be like the rocks. They were like selling some rocks early on. It's like, oh, yeah, the red ones, whatever, the amethyst for this, that, whatever. And I was like, oh, dude, I don't even remember. Is he going to know what fucking rocks to pick to get love? Anyway, there's a different trick to this one, and it's a fun one. This is a big one if you hadn't seen anything. There is a one wish wonder thing, whatever the fuck it was called. Anyway, it's a voodoo ritual where if you make a wish, it's like a genie in a bottle. You make the wish, and you say what you want, and then it twists it into the worst possible version of that thing ever. And it's never exactly what you want, because life can't be perfect. So if you try to apply a perfect wish to something, that people cannot fit within the box. That's really what happens. I love, these types of analysis, these possible scenarios. What if someone was so opposed to being in a relationship, for whatever reasons they're opposed to being in a relationship, and they were forced to do it, then what happens? Well, the thing fucking breaks down. It malfunctions. This is not a possession film, I think, by any means, but it reverts her into like the most simple version of any of the emotions she can feel. And she's told to feel love, right? So she wants to spend all the time with him. Well, let's get there first, right? Anyways, so this thing, he wants to give it to her as like a gift, I guess. Like maybe she's into this. I don't know. Just a gift, like a random shit, little fucking random souvenir. Like, I'll give this to her, and maybe somehow she will let me finger her or something. I don't know. That's not my method. But anyway, so he thinks that this is somehow going to be something she's going to love. I'm sorry for the vulgarity, okay? I'm just making a joke. Sorry. Fucking all up in there. This movie's got me excited, bro. This shit was crazy. Anyway, so he gives, you know what? He can't, he just won't give her the gift, right? Basically, it's time for him to man up. She's like giving him all the signs of like, dude, if you like me, it's time to fucking grab your cojones and tell me that. But he's like, no, baby. I mean, no, friend. We're friends. I see us as friends. And, we're not sure what she feels. Let's talk about that briefly, because we want to know how she's feeling while she's still the thing you might call Nikki. The thing that's coming, we'll call Freaky Nikki for a reason if you watch the film. I mean, it's not like a thing. But this other version that's coming, we'll call her Freaky Nikki, right? Freaky Nikki's just a nickname she doesn't like. So he says some insensitive shit to her. This is when they're still two humans who couldn't, one couldn't get out of the friend zone. One couldn't figure out maybe if she has some unrequited feelings for this person. And, maybe there's something there. Now, what word on the street is, girl, the fucking gossip, right? Is that, Sarah and Nikki, of course, are girls. They talk together. And she says that basically she just views him as a friend. Nothing, there. Someone's moving upstairs. I'm just going to have to continue, my rant. I don't know. I'm just going to have to get used to that. Anyway. Sorry. We're going to continue the review now. So anyway, Nikki is not that interested in, basically. Any test that he was, being tested with just failed. He did not pass 0. And, he gets frustrated by that, Bear sitting in that car rejected. And he's just like, fuck, what do I do? And so, this will never happen to you, I believe. Okay, but if, I wouldn't fuck with it myself personally, but like, don't dip your toes into waters just to see what they feel like. If it's not, I don't know, good for you, Like, this is the analogy for that, I think, right? This is a bad way of getting what you want. You know, this is going full red pill. This is going full whatever. And it's just, I'm going to do this to secure some sort of success with this woman, I guess, right? You know, success with any woman. Don't do that. That shit's lame. I think that's basically my moral of this story. But anyway, you know, I think that, and I don't know if I really don't think that there's meant to be these types of analogies, but that's what I'm taking from it, and I'm going to use it for my purposes. But anyway, so just imagine that this wish is just abandoning your own truth, making it work without the intervention of something, you know, not from you, you know, because I think if two people wouldn't work together when they're not from themselves, then it's doomed to fail, right? And of course, what's going to happen now is doomed to fail. It's going to fail either way. This is just not meant to be. Really, you could see that, or you know, maybe just more time is needed. But you have to let it play out organically. It has to be organic. It can't be some sort of fucking motivation that isn't just I love them. Basically, you know, that's how I view it, and I think you should too. Anyway, so let's move on, because we're already 16 minutes in, and I don't know how long I can talk about this. This shit gets crazy, yo. I might go as long as the film. Anyway, so when as he's walking away, you know, he's just upset. She's basically saying, "I'm quitting my job," and basically, "You're never gonna see me that much anymore. It's time for you to man up or shut up." He fails. He fails the test. She's, you know, whatever. I'm fucking Ian. You know, whatever. I don't know who knows what she's gonna do. She talks about how like her life is gonna be probably more creative. She wants to like write. I think that's what she said while she was still there, at the beginning of the film. She wants to express her creative outlets. She wants to feel the love. You know, those are the words I think she used. She's not feeling the love. You know, what she had with Ian was not fulfilling enough. Maybe she wanted something more fulfilling, and then she could do that in tandem. You know, this could have been a film about, you know, Ian Bear the food critic, and Nikki the whatever she does, you know, the writer. But it wasn't, because that was not meant to be, or one of the characters didn't have the balls to make it so. That's at least what we could say. Whether Nikki would have reciprocated, who knows? But anyway, then he cracks the stick and says something to the tune of, "This is very important when you fucking think about your would-be genie list. You need to send that shit to a lawyer first. Make sure it's all good to go and kosher." But he says, like, "Make her love me more than anyone in the world." Bad choice of words, you know. I was like, maybe make it into a loving and committed, totally normal relationship. You know, organic. You know, maybe make it like that, like some sort of fucking super special Starbucks coffee order. No, like, it's got to be, I don't know. Like, don't use this. This is not real. Don't fucking tell it to an AI and try and date it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the same shit. Like, the real thing is the only thing you should be going for, you know, in a day where fakes, you know, this one hit wonder thing, you know what I mean? I don't think there's an analogy for AI, but let's just say that there's a easy button that you could want to press sometimes. Sometimes it's not, you do not want to press that. Don't press that, right? It's bad for your soul, bad for humanity. And that's why we make little moments like this, these little reminders to do things the right way, do it organically, or your life might fall to ruin, genuinely. Like, that's what happens here in these horror movies. But it's because the characters make bad choices generally. That's a kind of a trope of the horror movie. Everybody's making horrible choices. I would say that this is a pretty bad choice, no matter how it was going to play out. Anyway, so what starts happening next? This is where I just want to really applaud the actress who plays Nikki. She just captures the spirit of like this idea. Again, this is not something that can happen to you, but it's interesting to think how badly it would affect, you know, if you think about a person as their soul, and that is the true them. Because this film is going to explore this idea that at this moment when this wish is cast, Nikki like gets her soul snatched from her body. She's like fully disassociating with herself. She still seems to be in there, is the scary part. You know what I mean? Later on in the film, this is way later in the film, but there's like a number on the back of the box that you can call. And, you know, basically it's just a guy who's just, I don't know if he's just a demon, basically. That's what I believe. He's basically just meant to be the demon who's holding on to their souls. And, you know, the pleasure he gets out of their torture is, you know, fair service, and he basically just sounds like the most, $10 wage, a call center guy ever. Like, yo, bro, I don't know, I'm just, you don't can't get your money back. That's what he says. We don't do a refunds policy here. You're fucked. Nikki is going to go crazy soon. So let's talk about that anyway. So Nikki is still like this first like 2 minutes, she's just downloading, but eventually it takes like super firm root of her. This it's almost like she's programmed now. She's programmed to love Bear. That's what he wanted. So Nikki's soul no longer has agency, and this husk of her is fully just moving towards that. And the way Nikki behaves, is very much like if it's doing the thing that it was told to do, which is to love Bear more than anyone, and it can happen in a somewhat normal way, then it's great. If they just want to go watch a movie and go to the movie and come back from the movie and talk about the movie, there's like a whole little 2-minute reel of just they're having the best fucking time, right? But then it gets worse, right? Because it's a bit weird, right? This is the reality of behind the scenes, right after, well, the first night's crazy. Let's talk about the first night. Dude, this movie was nuts. It really was. The first night is different. Like I said, she's downloading. She's resistant to she's just, after he breaks it, she's just like somehow on the porch, like in the fucking, imagine the dark silhouette. She's just looking at the car. She's like, I gotta go over to that fucking car right now. She doesn't know why. She's like, dude, this guy's a pussy. And that's probably what she was thinking when she closed the door, like, fuck that guy. Fuck him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm done with that. I am so done with, a person who won't. I'm trying to move on, man. I'm trying to figure this shit out. If you're not, I'm just not dealing with that. I guess that's basically what I would say is how I think she was probably moving before this. But then she's reprogrammed. She's just looking at the car, realizing that she is in love with Bear. Like ridiculously head over heels in love with Bear. And she probably's like, but he's a little brother to me or whatever, right? He's just not, he doesn't do it for her, right? Whatever it is, It's just how it is, right? He's not doing it for her. But now he is, and she just starts to be crazy, and it's amazing. So basically how I think that, again, I don't think this is a possession film, the way she's portraying this character. She's basically just giving into whatever a toddler would do if they couldn't, or just even like a grown person. She it's a mix of like psychopaths and toddlers. Like when she cries, she's weeping. She just got her candy taken away. Like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to do whatever it is that is me not being right here with you, sitting on the couch and staring at your face as opposed to staring at the screen. She's programmed to basically want to, and she really hates, and she can sense, she's like an emotional, it's basically, she's just pulled by pure emotion. Logic does not factor in anymore. It's just pure base human instinct, raw, unfettered emotion, and also the inhibition that sometimes comes with some of these emotional states. She's basically psychotic. If she's happy, she's happy, but if she's mad and grumpy, she's like the craziest version of that. Just go watch the movie. We might talk about certain scenes. But anyway, in this very first part, she's just basically trying to she's just seducing him now, right? She wants to seduce him, give him opportunities to, be seduced, which he still fails to take in this first night. This first night's super awkward. He's like, oh God, he's like, what did I do? Did this really work? There's no way. Because he wants to believe that if he just had said, I like you, I do like you, should we go on a date? Whatever, however he would do it. You know what I mean? This is when he doesn't know what the fuck to do. She's coming back towards him. She's behaving weird. This is not the Nikki he knows. They're best friends, basically. But she is now expressing very forward intention. Very forward intention. She's no longer wanting to go home. She's manipulating him. She's manipulating the fuck out of him. She's making up lies about her father that she doesn't care about. This part of her no longer matters. The only person that matters is one relationship. Fuck her father and brother and mother. Logic is gone. And any like normal emotional drive is gone. It's now gone to one object of obsession, which is dangerous because that obsession could be anything, by the way. It could be, you know, again, for like the real people, the moral of the story, it can be porn and drugs and alcohol and, you know, whatever. It could be anything. A person, genuinely. Like this is a scary part. You know, obviously this really does happen to people. You know, mostly in the reverse, and it's a scary world to live in. Genuinely, you know, people might have to really worry about being obsessed over, and it's kind of creepy, more than creepy, dangerous even sometimes. Anyway, but it can also, you know, you can obsess over something too, and I think this is going to be more applicable. Okay, but yeah, both valid. Anyway, kind of just brushing that off. Yeah, well, anyway, maybe you can get some sort of a moral out of that. Anyway. So she basically is just being pulled towards him. She's just like starting to fall over, you know, she's basically falling down the hill. You know what I mean? And she doesn't know how to fucking stop falling. And it's just freaking her out internally because she's like basically disassociated. You can imagine that the real Nikki's like within the walls and she's just screaming. It'd be like being like in like hell, basically. I think this is, you know, basically a form of soul snatching. You know, this thing is, she's in ultimate torture. You know, going through this, you know, it's, she's being raped, right? Like, that's, you know, spoilers for a later part in the film, you know, at some point, Nikki, you know, she's able to slip out of this trap for like a moment. It's when he's trying to leave and go talk to Sarah. We'll talk about this briefly. I'm sorry, I'm going all out of order. So you better have seen this fucking movie. What are you doing here if not? What could possibly you be listening to 26 minutes into this review and not have seen this fucking movie? Shame on you. Anyway, so at this point, you know, this is the point in the movie where, you know, let's get real. Fucking, she's like, we've never been together. Please kill me. Like, put me out of my misery. Because the trick is, you know, you can't just cancel this service. You can't change your wish. It's either the wish is ongoing forever, no matter how agonist, you know, it is. It's going to be horrible for her forever. And it's probably gonna be horrible for you too, dog. Like Bear was going through it, man. He was going through it with this girl in this film. But it's like she's got to, you know, basically he only says you can die. But I'm like, yo, you could kill her too. You know, he considers that briefly, but I'm glad he didn't. But the point is somebody has to die at this point. Like this is the trap of this horror movie. You know, again, you don't have to actually do this in real life. You can just go your separate ways. But anyway, they really need to go their separate ways for real in this film. Otherwise, you know, horrible things will continue. So anyway, we'll just move on through that analogy now. Crazy movie. That's so good, though. But yeah, she says, you know, we've never been together. You know, whatever you've been doing with my body is not me. Like, you know, we've never been together. I've never wanted that. And, you know, that's got a fucking sting. You know, doesn't it, Bear? So yeah, Bear's basically... You know, now his morals are just completely fucked up. You know, and he will be irredeemably fucked forever. But let's go back. I really do want to go through everything. I'm really having fun talking about this, even if it's just completely fangirling at this point, actually. But it is what it is, man. I like the movie, bro. That's all I can say. It's a good film. You should have seen it if you're watching at the 28-minute mark. God damn. Anyway, so what next? After like the first night and they wake up, he doesn't sleep in their bed. He doesn't have sex with her because he's not sure that this is real. You know, he's doubting himself. You know, maybe he's manipulated her too hard. You know what I mean? Like what could a real person take away? Like maybe if you said something crazy to manipulate a woman to sleep with you, you are basically considering that you've like committed rape or something, because you just made her think a certain way. Because you were so mean to her or whatever it is that, you know, how this scenario could happen. I don't know what I'm fucking saying here, but anyway, Bear eventually, you know, goes in with the delusion, right? And he says, you know what? I do like you. And she says, then great. It's going to be great. And we do this little monologue that we, you know, this little, not a monologue, but, you know, just like flashing forward of, a couple key indicators of what's going on for the next scenes, right? And it's really well shot. I love the way they do this, by the way. Super amazing, because it kind of shows that they start to fall head over heels in love. They're just, making out all the time. They're slacking off on the job. They're fully invested in everything that they're saying. But it reaches a point where, like, things start to poke at the relationship. Okay? So again, Ian's been with this girl, basically, kind of like on and off for 2 years. He's jealous, probably, right? Sarah's realizing that she's fully flopped on her fucking, what are her intentions with my friend, my interest, right? What is, from Sarah's perspective, what is she's thinking? She's honing in on my boy. Why? Because you're fucking Ian? These relationships are so toxic, aren't they? But dating's horrible. Anyway, let's move on. But anyway, so she's just like, what do you even do with that? What do you even do with that? She's freaking out. Doesn't know what to do. Basically everybody's so awkward about this that, it goes on for quite a long time. Bear really indulges in this for a while. And, there's just a few cracks that kind of start happening. I don't remember, for the record, if the first crack was like immediately after this scene, or like after Bear says something about it. Because again, as long as the vibes are matching, he fully gives into this, sensation, and kind of forgets his guilt. I should review another movie, Promiscuous Young Woman. This is another amazing film that talks about this. Some people like do bad things and then they suppress their guilt, and they haven't really coped or healed from it or become accountable for it truly. And it's just like, it's a real thing that people do. They try to pretend like nothing ever happened. You know what I mean? And it did. And it did. And it's important that we talk about it at least once. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But you have to really move through your mistakes and your traumas to get out the other side. Avoiding them, they teleport to the end of the road. Those traumas are going to be there. I really think you got to deal with them somehow. Not suggesting therapy, but I'm just saying, like, deal with your traumas. I don't even know what else to say. Anyway, so this friend group eventually starts saying, "This is weird, man. Like, what are you doing? Are you manipulating her? Or is something going on? Like, are you blackmailing her? Who knows what could actually be happening?" But they're just expressing their concern. And he's thinking, like, I did crack that fucking weird Make-A-Wish stick, and everything's been weird, but kind of great since. I wonder if doing whatever initial manipulation, or however we got into this, the bad way, with bad intentions, without an honest and open heart. Did the cheat code, is the cheat code why the save file's corrupted? Probably. Okay. You got to figure out how to fucking make amends with that. But anyway, so now the chickens are coming home to roost, man. And this shit is crazy, dude. I want to keep my train of thought going. This is horribly derailed. We're 33 minutes into this damn rant. I just love this film. I'm just going to want to talk about every little part of it to hopefully we're just two bros hanging out at this point. I love that part of the movie too, dude. Hell yeah. Anyway, because I can't understand why you'd be here at 33 minutes if not. So, what happens next? She starts breaking, I guess, is really what happens. Is like, he starts to express like certain things, and he probably starts behaving in ways where, like, I don't propose to know how the secret link of the soul is happening with Nikki and Freaky Nikki. I don't know. It kind of seemed like it just took some time to really just, once she was in it too far, it just started to really ick her out from within. And the thing starts bugging, hard bugging, So he brings something up at dinner, or I think the first one's the night where she's like not in the bed. And I want to talk about this one because this one was fucking crazy, dude. This is about the most unsettling part of the movie before the finale for me. It's just absurd. So she's just out of the bed. And, it's one of those classic horror shots where it shows him up. She's not on the left side. He's on the right side. He's stirring. You're like, dude, we already know the rules of the game is she loves him. So if she's not like sniffing his neck and feeling his heartbeat, she's probably not happy. So it's up. right? It's up. It's out. What is it? What is it? We haven't really seen it yet. It's fucking across the room in the corner, in the very corner, the furthest possible space to occupy from, the person, right? It's where my hand is versus where my head is. Like, it's trying to get off camera. It wants to be gone from this, and that's Nikki, right? She wants out. But it's also Freaky Nikki. Freaky Nikki's a little fucked up here too, because I think she's starting to like doubt his love, because he's starting to just, say you can't do certain things. Like, she's breaking within. So this is one of the first times you really see that. And she's like, I feel like what we're feeling is not mutual, that you don't like me. I think the restaurant scene must be before this to make this make logical sense. But like the way she acts in the restaurant is crazy too. The way he gets up to make the phone call and she kind of like just meanders out of frame and meanders back. Dude, I was expecting to see her in the glass. You know what I mean? It's just, hopefully, whatever. If you've seen this already, you won't be anticipating that potential moment, because that's the fun part about watching these movies. It's like, oh my God, what is about, where is she going to pop up? Where's the knife going to protrude through? Who's going to die? When? We'll talk about it. It's crazy, man. Anyway, so because they're starting to poke back at this relationship, doubt is sown. He's starting to express doubt. He's starting to give her like limits, like, babe, I know you love me like that, but you can't, lick my face in public anymore. It's getting a little fucking weird, tongue baths in the fucking, bathroom stalls. Like, we can't do it anymore. So, but she needs to be fully and unconditionally loved to the fucking manic extent she's been commanded to. So like, he doesn't want to do all of this depravity, like all the time, probably. She'll just, crumble and fall, and you get more and more psyche stretched to the point that she just snaps. You know what I mean? Because that's the only place that this thing could ever be comfortable again, is when he is looking at her with nothing but pure ecstasy and love, right? Whatever it is. Like, if it's not that, the thing's out of balance, and it's gonna fight really hard to get its fucking pH levels right. And it's just a freaky like idea that this is possible. It's not. So don't worry. But anyway, what basically happens next is I'm trying to remember. He wakes up the next morning, and he's kind of like, they kind of got over it somehow in the night, but it's a crazy scene. I won't really say too much else other than to say it's amazing, but they kind of like get over it. He wants to try and leave, but anytime that the idea of him leaving comes up, it screams and shrieks like a mother losing its child. You know what I mean? It's like this pure horror sound. You know what I mean? It's meant to be like that. She's losing a part of her own soul, maybe even more than she values her own soul, and like the way that it's commanded to do these things. So it just wails uncontrollably. Like, anytime that he's like, I'll go sleep in another room. Like, she's like, you're going to sleep there. After all of this crazy shit, you're going to sleep there. I'm going to come and fucking nuzzle you. And he's just, okay. He does, like, he's scared now, bro. He's scared. It's funny. It's like, I know it's not probably even meant to be funny, but to me, I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. It's so cringe. It's so awkward. Like, is awkward the fear? We're so afraid of being awkward. You know what I mean? That we would throw away years of our lives because we were too afraid about being awkward. You know what I mean? That's kind of like, I don't know. That's kind of a little thing I take away, because when this thing's completely unhinged to the idea of awkward now. Freaky Nikki is not concerned about awkward. Doesn't give a fuck. If it would not care if 7.9 billion people hated them, as long as he loves me. That's just how it was programmed, bro. It makes no sense. And you can't comprehend it. It can't pick up on social cues. Other than like anything, it notices things that aren't like, he doesn't love me. Everybody else is doing other reactions. She probably does not care about those reactions. She only cares about his reactions. And if he's like loving it, for the most part he was, but then he kind of stopped being, and it starts bugging out. You know what I mean? It doesn't know what the fuck to do about that. It does not like that. So let's start talking about how it starts not liking that. When she wakes up this next day, she's not scheduled. Dude, the fucking moment where she says like, I don't like my dreams. I want to talk about some more about that, but we'll talk about that later. Let's just continue with the plot. Spoilers. because I just want to recount it before I lose it. But anyway, so the door is, basically she's like on the inside of the room. She's got something for him. I kind of don't remember. It's like a lunch, and you know, they're basically making up after a fight. That is what Bear is trying to sum this up as. It was just a weird fight. She's behaving weird. She's not possessed. She's not, a demon or something. So I shouldn't be scared of her. She's kind of scared of her. You know what I mean? That's what he's thinking. I'm fucking scared of her. What the fuck do I do? His eyes were bigger than he could chew, bro. You gotta fucking have enough for this type of love. Bear's not fucking ready for this type of love, man. Who is? This shit is crazy. Anyway, let's move on. I'm sorry. I'm really having a good time tonight. Anyway, so I'll just lose my train of thought all the time now. Just because I've been going for so long, I really got to just move through the plot. Sorry. Okay, no more excuses. Get back on the horse. I'm starting to get a little shy myself. I've been looking at myself this whole time. It's actually been freaking me out. You know why I'm doing it though? Because I just watched a horror movie and I don't want to not see the demon coming. I want to be like in fucking Scream, dude. I want to be, that dude in the van, but I'm watching myself in the van. Fuck it. I got a perimeter set up around the van, and they're not sneaking up on me tonight, bro. This movie was scary, dude. It was scary. So what happens next? He goes to work. And he kind of is debriefing with Ian. Now that she's not around to eavesdrop on his every word, I forget exactly what he does in this scene, but he's trying to convince him that it's all good. They're trying to convince him that no, it is not right. She is making up stories about her father with cancer. She's not behaving rationally. She's massively changed her behavior. If this was an army installation post, you'd be reporting this person to the S2. This person might have some sort of foreign influence. They started behaving like crazy. He gave her money or he's holding something over her. And you know what I mean? So that's how the level of weirdness. Now I'm actually looking for the demon in the background. What the fuck? All right, we're cool. We chilling. Are we chilling? Anyway, so he's just completely trying to buy this delusion. The friend's just like, okay, fine. If then you can't come to my party tonight alone, then only then would I accept that this is some sort of normal relationship. I've not seen you without her for I don't know, however long. I don't know how long it was. I mean, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. How long would it take you to say something? I don't know. But anyways, probably maybe a month of this just pure bliss out of nowhere. Bear and Nikki? What? Those two? Fuck no. What the fuck is going on there? Just genuine concern, if nothing else, right? Just weird, genuine concern. What if a weird phase maybe? Anybody talk to her? Talk to him? What's going on there? Whatever. Just people are going to want to know about the people that are close to them, right? This is just genuine. This is how it would be. But anyway, so he gets home. Oh, dude, the scene before she left, bro. Dude, this movie goes crazy from this point onwards, right? It's just, she leaves. I don't even want to talk to you. I don't know. I mean, again, okay, no, you better have seen it by now. I've been talking for more than half the fucking feature length at this point. God damn. Anyway, she starts experimenting with the idea that if she makes a better face, that he will love her for it. So she's trying to hold a very pretty smile, but it's without any of that normal human element where we smile and then we continue the thought. She's just trying to make him happy in the most base way possible. You know what I mean? She just wants to hold a pretty face so that he'll just, oh yeah, she's beautiful, and therefore I'm good. This is great. This is all that I need, or whatever cope you want to have, or what's wrong with the relationships that you might happen to be in. I don't know. But, and I'm not compromising is necessary, but I'm just saying, if this relationship is right for me, that's what he's still trying to convince himself of, and she's trying to convince him how to do it. But it's what can you do? You're a weird demon thing. I don't know what you are, but you're not going to behave normally. because you're not going to want to do like the normal things. You probably wouldn't even care if you got married or had children. You wouldn't care about any of those things, right? You know, like you wouldn't have this normal human edge to you, and you just get all fucking weird. So she's just fucking weird, right? She doesn't know how not to be at this point. Um, she just feels probably weird, really weird, twisted sensations. You know, her right brain screaming love and her left brain screaming danger, danger, fire. You know, like this is probably the experience she's going through. You know, this is a real thing that people can experience, and it can really, really, really fuck with you. But anyway, there's a lot of ways to heal with most of this stuff. And we're getting off topic, bro. This movie goes through so much. I feel honestly, but like, dude, like I don't know what it is. I'm trying to find an explanation for this scene, but like she behaves like a puppy dog. You know, we have a dog in this house called Norton. It follows my mother everywhere, everywhere. I don't know if she's like dropping pierogies out of her fucking pockets or something. Like this dog follows her all the time. Like she goes into the bathroom and he just looks at the door, and she's like that, right? She wants to just see the object, or if the object goes out of frame, object permanence, she's just gonna stare and wait for it to come back, and then she's back to normal. But she's also super fucking weird at this point, you know? She's just fully like in this broken loop of he doesn't love me, does he? And she doesn't like, she like completely malfunctions, but she's never not with him. She's not scheduled to work. She like pisses herself, you know, just staring at the door with that pretty face on. And it's just like, whoa, fuck, what the fuck is that? So anyway, you're just like, oh my God, no, that poor thing. You know, you have to remember she's basically in hell. The real Nikki's in hell. At any time, anywhere, Nikki's in hell. You know, she's on fire. She's getting stabbed 1,000 times. You know, this is really bad. Anyway, so he comes home and she's still just like that. Also, one thing that we didn't talk about is all the duct tape on the door. You know, that was just like she didn't want him to go to work. Like maybe if he like quit his job, you know what I mean? Somehow that this would delay this thing. Like there's some way that you could delay. If he doesn't go to work, then we'll spend more time together, and I won't piss myself and be weird for one more day, you know, or whatever. But eventually you're gonna break, and you're gonna start pissing yourself and being weird. And so he leaves. She has nothing. So she has no valid excuse. You know, she's not, I guess, like a logical being anymore. She's just, I guess I have to let him go to work, and then I'll come home. And then, but she's just completely evaporates. She has no other passion, you know. She just stares at the door. Like I don't know what you want to say, you know, but I just feel like this was the right choice. Other than to say that, like I just feel like the artistic choices they're making at this point in the film is fucking perfect. But she has no other passion, no capability to have another passion. She's like locked out of those features, you know. And some people might feel that way about their lives. So I do feel like it's a powerful analogy. But anyway, she's just waiting there, and she pees herself because maybe she had to pee herself earlier, but you know she didn't want to waste any time, you know, going to the bathroom. She just wanted to be there with him. Some people do this type of thing, and like a heavy addiction, you know, could be pretty sad. I don't know, but anyway, so you know, total lack of agency for the rest of the film, basically. Anyway, so she goes forward, that you know, this way for the rest of the film. Anyway, eventually he gets home and he's just completely baffled by what he's seeing. You know, it's a person in complete disrepair. They're a family member or, you know, a loved one, let's just say, you know, and you just don't know what to really do. Like, what do you do? He starts to kind of behave that way with, you know, some other weirder emotions and ideas in his head maybe. But, you know, he's like, you're covered, you know, there's vomit or feces or whatever that is on the floor. Like you know, it's kind of like what you would, you know, it's kind of the way that possessions are played, you know, portrayed in a lot of other movies, I think. So maybe that's that, you know, like they're frothing at the mouth and they're like, she doesn't really do this, honestly. So I don't think that's what they're going for. But like, what is that stuff? You know, like it's just her fluids. She wouldn't possibly leave the idea of waiting for him to come back in. She has no other passion. You would think she'd maybe be texting him or something, but maybe that part of her brain is just broken. You know, it can no longer even remember that it could do something like that unless it can see it and like plan it in the most crude way possible. She's going to do some of this later. You know what I mean? It's interesting. Anyway, so she's in the bathroom freaking out. Bear's now resolved to tell her that it is, you know what, I got to test this for myself. If I can't leave here and her not like freak out about it, and you know, then this is still, he's starting to really believe, like, if she couldn't do that, then this is definitely wrong. Like, he should be convinced, but again, he's being like the horrible character we need him to be for the film to have this moment, and all these moments. Bear has to be basically terrible. Although I think he's interestingly written, of course. He's dealing with a real phenomena, something that's not that fun. Being friend zoned pretty hard by the girl you're crushing on, but you're too stupid to see the girl that's better for you. I don't think there has to be all these problems. Anyway, Bear's just not doing well and everything like that. Let me get some water. Hold up. I'm talking for like 50 minutes without drinking anything. Anyway, so he starts telling her, like, I'm going to go. She is basically in there like, okay, babe. He's like, I told you, don't cook the cat and don't fucking, do all the crazy shit you're doing, babe. Be normal. Be normal. He's trying to scream it at her. She's like, okay. Getting herself ready or whatever, right? She's going to be crazy for like the rest of this shit. But, she's like, okay, babe. Yep. No more cooking the cats. No more being freaking weird all the time. And then he's like, I'm going to leave to the boys' night. It's a boys' night. It's a boys' night. Boys' night. And she turns the water off. Stops saying stuff. And he's scared of her right now. He's completely afraid of her. He knows something's wrong with her, bro. He knows it because she's been moving weird. He was talking about the movement. The movements are crazy, bro. And if you go watch this movie, because the way they make her move in certain moments is so fucking good. She's crazy. She's like coming in out of frame, like in these weird angles. She does this backward walk thing. Dude, it's fucking freaky, man. She's moving. And I just love the way she portrayed it. Again, I just think it was an expertly well-made film. Really loved all of that side of the business. Great stuff here. I like to really just talk about what are these characters fucking dealing with. I love empathizing with these people and their horrible situations. So I don't have to live them myself. That's how I've lived my whole life. But anyway, so they end up going to the party. That's basically how that one resolves. He's trying to have the balls to say, no, it's a boys' night. It's a boys' night. And then, but Sarah said she's coming. It's that girl gossip, dude. She still knows how to work the phone to get that information. But anyway, so she knows Sarah's going to be there, and therefore it's not a boys' night. So I should come. But he can't just be like, well, I just want to take a night off, babe. They're not ready to have this conversation. She'll never be ready for that conversation. You know what I mean? She's not capable of going through these phases of a relationship because they're not in one. She cannot handle anything shy of full acceptance of her all the time, no matter what anybody else thinks of it. Anyway, so, and maybe some people really do get that possessive. That's a weird thing to do. But anyway. So they go to the party, and bro, this party scene is immaculate. Oh my God. Let's talk about it briefly. So it's basically a normal party scene. It's just like a college party scene. Again, Ian's probably the chill Chad dude. I don't know, like college frat guy. Not exactly sure, honestly. I think they're like 25. Fuck if I know. Really not got a good ear or eye for that type of thing. But what are we saying? Hold on. Give me 1 minute. All right. I'm probably not going to edit that out because I figured out how to use the pause button. So you're just going to have to look at the camera awkwardly while I forget what to talk about. But anyway, I've gone ahead and just made a few notes to myself before I continue the recording so that we can just get to the end of I want to talk about certain scenes and moments and, character reactions. To keep myself on track. So anyway, we're going to talk briefly about the party scene. Maybe not briefly. I don't know. The party scene is one of the more interesting scenes because this is where like the true horror of this movie is on full display to me. This is where like awkwardness and the strong desire to never have an awkward moment in your life and to, be confronted with one that like an awkwardness machine now, how everybody responds to it. Like people just really don't want to be in these uncomfortable situations, which I get. But like we're so afraid of it that we won't even try anymore. Like people are, friendless, fucking at extraordinary rates. You know what I mean? Like it's bad. It's bad out here in these streets. So This scene is amazing for this, um, because it's like the classic party scene. She's still like fawning all over him. Everybody else is just trying to hang out and catch a vibe and actually talk about what's going on in life, not just can you stop eating her face in public, please? So they're playing this like Jenga game. You pull a Jenga piece off. There's some sort of like truth or dare esque game or action that you're gonna have to do. I forget exactly how it started, but like one guy could like steal the seat, and so somebody steals the seat from Bear, and now he's next to Nikki, and Nikki takes the seat next to Sarah. They're playing. I don't know how much I want to talk about, but like we'll just cover what I can, right? So the first one, so somebody steals Bear's seat. Nikki's this kid that she doesn't care about. Her only love and affection is over there, and she's like, fuck, man. And you know what she really's pissing her off is she's sitting next to Sarah now. And the real Nikki's still like somehow trapped in here. She knows Sarah likes him. And, so this is now a threat, right? She's never been really threatened at this point in this way. So she's starting to really tweak out really hard. And she's writing poetry. She is a writer. And this is maybe something I'm just not picking up on, is she's when her turn to go is, again, she's a cringe machine at this point. She's writing like about her intense fucking love, and like she tells this nasty story. It's about rape, I think, basically. Like the idea that she's going to have sex with this man one way or the other, whether it's like, it was like his appendage or, I guess him, but like a bloody appendage of his. Something is going to, give her the satisfaction she needs. You know what I mean? Like she's on that level of fucking psycho bitch, dude. It's amazing. It's amazing, I think. Don't tell me I'm wrong. That shit was crazy. I wish I could watch it again just to actually like really take in what she was saying. It was crazy, bro. I was like, oh my God. Yo, I'm sure somebody's into that, but you know what I mean? It's just like, it's maybe a little too far. That's what I'm saying. But fuck, man, this is what she was into, dog. That's what the fucking freaky Nikki is like. She's freaky. Oh, no. Oh, sorry. I'm getting a little loud. It's like 11 p.m., but it's not that bad. And we've already tested the soundproofing. We're all good down here, dude. Look at this place. It's immaculate. We got soundproofing for all the shit, man. We good, basically. They're just deaf, old, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I'm fucking around, bro. Anyway, I love my family. Anyway, so what happens? There's so much to talk about in this one scene. I don't know. There's a big list I got right here that I still want to talk about. This is still the first list item because I was very vague in my descriptions because I know I'm just going to ramble about them. But anyway, so that's her turn. And everybody's just like, yo, what the fuck? But they don't know what to say because it's actually happening. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the horror movie right there. Somebody's being cringe as fuck right in front of you. And you just got to say, dude, be calm somehow. Excuse yourself. Irish goodbye him. Fuck that place. The vibes were not immaculate in that joint that night. Let's just say that. Anyway, so then it's Bear's turn, and bro, it's the worst possible situation. He picks it up. It says, "Kiss the person on your left." He's sitting right next to Sarah, so he's reading it. She's reading it. They're both understanding. They're both getting it, but Bear's terrified. Bear's like, "Yo, no fucking." Can we lie? What if I just start saying random words? You think Sarah would fucking like go along with it? I don't think Bear's that smart though. Bear's probably not like, oh, kiss the person on your right and just fucking avoid it. Just get it over with. I don't know. But the worst possible situation was going left. Going right, dude. There was no way she was going to accept this. So the most amazing thing happens. She reads it out. It's like, kiss the person on your left. They're like, oh, he's going to kiss Sarah? Oh, but Nikki. It's fucking Love Island. It live in the flesh. Nikki is not having that shit, bro. No, sir, bro. Because everybody's like afraid of Nikki. Like everybody's caught on that something's wrong with her level of affection. Like what does he have on her? He's freaking out, bro. So Nikki just stands up and puts on what we call the grumpy face. She's very distraught because that image crossed her mind. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's when like you take a kid and you're like, and he wants a cookie. You want a cookie? And you give him the cookie, and you take the cookie away. You're really upset. Really, really upset. No. And I guess we could also say the possessive girlfriend could feel the same way. Anyway, so then she just stands up mostly, and then they make you sit with it. Like, is she really about to say that something? Is she really about to say something? She about to do something? Really? Oh, T-girl. Anyway, but no, they're freaking out though. Like, this is really weird to actually like be around it, not be like from the safety of Twitter. Like, yo, I don't want to be in the room with no cringe, man. Leave me alone. You know, that's why I keep people at an arm's length. But anyway, she like gets up, slowly moves around behind her, like a few feet away from her. I literally was like, I know at some point she's gonna kill people. Like, there's no way people are not dying for this because they're gonna take more of his time away from her. He's a human. He's got to pay the rent at some point. You know what I mean? He's got to spend most of his fucking time at work. And she can't handle it, bro. She could not ever handle that. So, she's going nuts. She can't. Their brain will not compute that image. She must now become the girl on the left. She goes up to her, pulls her backwards. You know, everybody's saying nothing at this time, right? Nothing at all. They're just watching in horror. Like, what the fuck? She goes up, pulls her back, gets down, and puckers her lips, looking at Bear. And Bear's just like, fuck. He's like, dude, Bear is not. He's like disassociating the entire time in this scene. He's just completely like, you know, he doesn't know what to do. He knows he has to be at the party. That's about as far as he's able to process. Like, he knows that he said he was going to come here, and then he, you know, coped and said he was going to bring her there. And now he's just fully sinking in the craziness and that the fact that all this is so wrong and feels so wrong. And he just, you know, he's just like waiting for it to end somehow. And it just, you know, and it's that moment, right? And I think it's quite fascinating. Anyway, and then he gives her a little peck, you know. He's like, yeah, that's my girl. That's my baby. I don't know what to say. Maybe he's like trying to imply with his body language that he's not feeling it, you know, that he knows like it's over, you know, he's got to end it. But in the real world, he knows that he can't end it. Like, he can't end it. He knows there's something possessive has taken hold of her spirit, and it will not let her not want to be with him. And so he really is signed up. He's married, you know, but she's like Catholic, like super Catholic, like I'll kill you Catholic. You know what I mean? She's coming for you if you fucking try and divorce her. She doesn't want that. She needs to be with you. She needs to, like, I don't know. It's crazy, bro. It's just all we're going to say. She has no more limitations, no reservations. She's going in. You can't stop her. She's going to the A gap, bro. She's going in. She goes crazy at this point. It's so much fun. Anyway, I don't even know how the fuck to get out of there. I don't even remember. It's just crazy. I don't know. I think everybody's just like, no. Dude, I'm sorry. All right, so we got to finish this is still crazy. Somehow, still number one is the party scene. That's all I said. The next one's the hospital scene. So, still somehow Nikki has moments of lucidity. You know, it's almost like a bad acid trip. You know, she's mostly fucking, you know, disassociated from her body. But every once in a while, she's, I'm Nikki. I'm kissing him. I'm saying I love you to him. I'm interested in him. I'm like seducing him. You know, like, I'm in this wrong sexual relationship that I don't want to be in. I don't know how I got here. And I don't want to be here anymore. And she goes bananas. And she started doing this with the sandwich scene, which I guess I just completely missed. But like, I'm just going to skip it. We got to we got to carry this train forward, baby. We got to carry this train forward. There's so much to say. I really feel that way. But, so she says, not me. That's the inside joke, right? That this is not me. She knows you're you, but that's not me. That's not me. you know, and she's trying to basically, I think like, I don't know. I think she's trying to basically. She eventually, I think the intention of this thing would have been to kill him, and it's not very, like, there's not many opportunities where it might have happened, but like she knows that either he or him would have to die if like they couldn't be together, you know. So she's talks about, you know, what happens next. All right, so when she comes to one of these moments of lucidity, where she starts moving crazy, really weird, and is talking truth, more or less. She says, "That's not me." And she's surrounded by people. It's her only opportunity to call for 911, basically ever. Like if ever you could do something to get if you had like 10 seconds to like save your life somehow, like would you, I don't know. If you really need to get into that hospital, could you like amputate something? I don't know, like whatever it is, right? Somehow you have to get such a good, reasonable excuse to get help that it's unavoidable. She does what she probably could come up with in this like 10 seconds. She stabs herself in the face. Maybe she's like feeling so much pain. She thinks that if she kills herself, that it'll go away. You know what I mean? She's I don't know what she's thinking. Like it's not even possible to comprehend it. So just give her some credit. But anyway, she stabbed her face, in front of everybody. And again, everybody is just like, what the fuck? Like, why the fuck is that happening? It's unexplainable. That's what makes it a horror movie. But anyway, so she stabs herself in the face, is completely insane to a degree that no human could say she's not insane, and to get her help. But it's a horrible group. It's a horrible friend group. They basically say, yo, get your girl, get the fuck out of the house, bro. This is fucking unacceptable. I don't know what the fuck kind of crack she's on, but this is not okay. And that's where they're calling. That's their boundary. And I don't know. It sucks. I would say somebody should really help this person. Does nobody really care about Nikki after all? Not even Ian? I don't know. It's sad. She's a lost soul. Like Nikki is really a tragic character. We haven't really talked about her all that much. I've been kind of dehumanizing to it. Like I call it and freaky Nikki. But like this girl is the victim of this, right? This is horrible stuff. And anyway, hopefully it'll never be this severe for fucking almost anybody. This seems impossible, but it could still be quite horrific. So let's just leave it at that. But anyway, so Nikki's really going through it here, and so she tries this method, and she couldn't get out. So they think about taking her into the hospital, but I guess they don't, because I seriously don't think that like any hospital person would let this person be released. Like not possible. How the fuck could you possibly let her be released? But maybe I'm just misunderstanding. Like maybe I don't know if they really fucking took her in there or not. Honestly, it was moving fast at this point. Anyway, so they bring her home, and he's still in this mode where he like has to still convince her that like he'll stay with her, and all this stuff. So he like puts her to bed, and we'll have to talk about the I guess the bed scene here. They're like in bed, somehow after all this craziness. I forget about the little conversations on the way up, but I love the character writing and the way they're just talking to each other, in these moments of what the fuck do we even make of this situation. But anyway, so we just have to carry forward anyway. In the middle of the night, Bear wakes up. All right, and Bear has got to go. He gets a text from Sarah. He's kind of like dreading checking his phone. Like she's so possessive, like she's so crazy, any amount of your attention going to anywhere but her is literally like being stabbed in the heart now. So, anyway, but he has to check the phone. It's from Sarah. Sarah says, I'm in our old spot. Basically, again, they're like longtime friends. Probably the love relationship that should have happened and could have avoided this Armageddon that we're experiencing now. But anyway, it wasn't to be. And now he just doesn't even know how to fucking possibly leave the relationship. He's hitched to this bitch now. Whatever, sorry. He's hitched to her now, right? Like, there's no way he can fucking leave this girl alone. He's basically, imagine like she's had a kid, and he's been married to her, and this is like a super Catholic relationship. Essentially, like there's no way he can leave her, and there's no way he can even be friends with anybody else if he was to somehow survive this, and continue to live this way and cope with that. Um, like he has no life now. His life is just being in this thing's arms, and it'll fucking get weird as fuck if somehow he was. Maybe he could stay in the delusion. I don't know. Maybe some people are able to do it, but like he knows that there's no way out for him. So she's in her old spot, and there's something important she wants to tell him, and he's like, probably in his little boy heart, thinking, does maybe Sarah like me? Because I kind of always, you know, but always, but I was just so focused on Nikki. Oh my God, I forgot about you, babe. Anyway, so he's maybe having some of these emotions, but mostly just probably want to get away from Nikki. Freaky Nikki, dude. And he's trying to get out of the bed, and then Nikki wakes up from within, but not Freaky Nikki. Freaky Nikki is nice and sleepy right now. And Nikki comes out. We've already kind of talked about this, but she says, "Kill me." That's all she says at that moment. She's like, again, imagine that you like have a moment of lucidity in a deep addiction. You might think something very drastic to get out of the whatever might come, the pain that's ahead. And you say, "Kill me," She's like talking to her former friend that's been fucking her corpse, basically. And he's just, let's just kill me. Like, have some fucking courtesy, kill me. Somehow this, this is wrong, kill me. Like I would rather be free of this. She's having that moment, and he's like, what's so bad about being with me? And she says, this is maybe just an insecurity, really, super expanded upon insecurity, but he feels a lot of inferiority because he's been stuck in the friend zone for so long, that, this is how he came to take some of these crazy decisions. But before all that, he was a regular person, I think, basically, before he made the horrible decision that changed him. But, there's still something to think about, what he's considering at this moment. He's like, what's been so bad about being with me? You don't, no part of you would want to do that. He's just like, I've never been with you. You're living in your head. Basically, you're just living in your head. Like, leave me out of it. Like, I'd want you to kill me. This is the situation you put us in. Just kill me. And he's like, that's okay. That's something he's got to think about now. He's going to go drive to fucking Ian's house, or whatever. Anyway, she won't wake up. She doesn't wake herself up right here. Okay. She still just kind of like starts crying. It's like really sad, right? It's fucked up. Ian isn't going to kill her right now. Bear's not going to kill her right now. He's going to go talk to Sarah. So he leaves. And she knows better than to wake the beast, because then who knows what the fuck would happen. She wants to leave herself as powerless as possible, I guess, to die. She just give it into her fate, facing her mortality, from the way that she still can, trapped inside that hell. But anyway, interesting to think about, right? Anyway, so then there's this moment of, again, two humans, I think, talking, not a cursed person and evil spirit thing. But Sarah has been wanting to get into a school for a long time, and she's a longtime friend of, Bear. And she secretly kind of has a thing for him. She wants to confess that. She wants to say, like, what if we did us? And, that's kind of her intention, honestly, coming out there. Is like, you're with Nikki, but do you really love her? She's not trying to be a homewrecker necessarily. She's really just a concerned friend who has no idea what the fuck's actually happening. And she wants to have this maybe last moment. She realizes that, like, the writing's on the wall. Like, he might just be with this girl forever. And I guess I'm just not going to get picked. Essentially, could be her position, She's not behaving irrationally or anything. She might just be thinking, well, shit, I guess I'm just going to go have to do my own thing. And if he wants Nikki and Nikki wants him, I don't know. I don't get it, but, what can I do? But I'm at least, talk to him tonight, one more time, give it a shot. She has some balls, right? She does. Anyway, so, they're having this nice scene. I won't recount every single part of it. I mean, it's just a nice scene. I really like it. They reminisce on, their life before, where they've been, where maybe they could be briefly for a moment. Um, but remember, this is a horror movie. So, I love the way they're shooting the shot though. Like they're just like slowly panning in. Every single one, it seems to get a little more claustrophobic. And then like they're about to have a moment. The moment kind of passes. It almost feels like that. Like you're like looking, you're like waiting to see something walking in the background or, coming close to the glass or whatever you're expecting, the classic jump scare moment. Um, and then they're like, I just want to have this moment where we open this letter and see if I'm gonna have my dream or not. Let's take this leap together, right? Um, so the framing kind of changes. It's this moment where I feel like it kind of is trying to release the tension a little bit, very effectively. I might add. You're like, oh, they're both in the frame now, so it's hard for them to sneak up. How can they possibly sneak up on this camera angle? This camera angle's got, ooh, it's a good one, right? Only those other ones where it's just one person in the frame, or maybe a random new angle from the front, maybe. Who knows what you could fucking do? But I love the horror genre. But anyway, so it continues, and they're basically about to like kiss. He's like, you know what? I've been waiting for you to say that for all these years. Put it here, Schnookums. Like it's this moment in the relationship, right? And it happens. Oh my god. She just immediately starts smashing her face into a brick that like you can't even process it. Like it's such a constructed plan. Again, she's behaving in a way that's like completely coded almost to be actively moving towards a goal. Like no inhibition, no nothing. If there's a threat or a motivation, it just moves towards it with pure instinct. So you imagine back in the house, you know, she wakes up. She realizes it's been a weird night. Where's my boyfriend? We had a little domestic dispute earlier, but we're kind of still trying to figure out whether we can make it work. He's gone. Where is he? She goes outside. She follows the trail. She finds the car. She sees the person. She has the plan. And now it's a crime of passion. And she like smashes her face and her hands through the glass with this brick, and she's put the bricks in front of the fucking thing, and she's bashing her head into it, dude. It's crazy, bro. I hope you've seen the film, because you should have just watched it in the time that it would take you to watch this part, which I know people aren't going to do. This is horrible. This content is so bad. But anyway, so this is so, dude, the horror of this was where probably a good amount of the money for the film went. This fucking scene here. Because this stuff looked crazy, man. Like if you're not ready to see these images, it's tough. But anyway, she kills Sarah because Sarah is not allowed to be in the picture. And shame on you for fucking cheating on me or almost cheating on me. Talking to other girls is cheating. I mean, maybe if you set the boundary up in advance, it's cool. But anyway, fucking point is, she kills this girl. And this is brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Bear is just like snapped back to reality. He almost forgot that he has this crazy girlfriend that he kind of made like possessed, and it's his fault deep down. So he snaps back to that reality. Out of this, she's going to, maybe we're gonna kiss right now, and this is like what I should have fucking done. And he's in that La La Land space, and then all of a sudden, she's doing the thing again, being a little socially awkward, a little diva. Just she doesn't know how to make her way in the silly world. She's just a girl. Anyway, she smashes her face into that brick about 40 fucking times, and it's really freaky. And she immediately just goes and starts like gaslighting him to death, bro. She's like, babe, this is your fault. Like, this is your fault. You wanted this to happen. Like, she's just like, like gaslighting, but unhinged, insane, not even smart, illogical. You wanted this to happen. You made me do this, all this crazy shit. You're going to help me hide the body because what else are you going to fucking do about it? She's just crazy. She's just psychopathic. She's the most base of human emotions, unhinged. People love these little emotions. That's why we write, stories about them sometimes, because this is freaky that we can even do this. But anyway, so let's move on. What do we got next? Oh my god. So yeah, they hide the body. Oh my god, it's just so freaky because again, what happens next is Somehow, again, they just go back to sleep. I don't even fucking get it. I don't understand how it's even possible, but like somehow he's able to get away from her again. And he goes back to the fucking Make-A-Wish shop and is like, where are the fucking Make-A-Wishes? They're like moved him over. The management's a little bit like different. He's just like in on the joke. He's like the fucking a little bit of relief for the audience. Like, yeah, I already used mine, bro. Like, I can't help you. He's like, he's like, oh my God, what the fuck? And then this is what I really want to talk about is, dude, he had a bad friend, bro. Ian is not a good friend. And he's like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to go find a homeless man and just flash $100 in front of him and say, hey, I just need you to say this, that, and the third, hand him the stick, break that, and I'll give you this cash, bro. That's it. I'm serious. Homeless man probably wouldn't, he might be suspicious, but he'd probably do it. You know what I mean? I doubt he's, but you could be opening yourself with some pretty hilarious punchlines, but this would not be suitable for this film. You know what I mean? But you could be like, make this man give me $100. He just cracks a stick. He's just like, fuck. He's just like out of the money. And now he's got to do a worse plan. But he doesn't do this. He goes straight to the worst plan. This is why he's the GOAT. He goes straight to the worst plan. He goes to his friend Ian and he says, Ian, I know you saw this craziness tonight. I know she's crazy. I know everything's crazy. What I'm saying is crazy, but you have to believe me. And Ian's got his own little reservations about him because he's kind of low-key smashing his girl, sort of. And maybe that's what he's thinking, honestly, because Ian was with Nikki for, their sex buddies or whatever. They be jigging and whatever. But yeah. He goes to him, man, and he's like, Ian, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I made a wish, and that explains her behavior change. I made a wish that she would love me, and this explains her behavior change. You were right. I made a mistake, man, but, if you fucking just make the wish that I didn't make a wish, this will be fucking fixed. Things will just go back to normal. Like, you just have to believe that. He has to come. That's the message he needs to come and bear. And he doesn't do it very well because having a real conversation with, an antagonist is not very fun or easy. Someone who just will not fucking listen to what you're saying. You're stupid. You're crazy. You've been crazy. Why the fuck should I listen to you? And frankly, fuck you. Because, you're disrespecting my girl, basically. And this is really fucking weird, man. And she stabbed herself in the face. And what the fuck could possibly be? You know what I mean? Like what's going on here? Fuck this guy. What else could you possibly think? Anyway, so he's like, fuck you. I wish for $1 billion. Boom. And then it rains right from the sky. Just like the truth that this is real. In the most, I think, hilarious possible way to like demonstrate it. He could have said something like fix global warming and it like would take 300 years to see, it come through. But like, you know what I mean? But no, he says, give me $1 million. And it's just like, cha-ching, bitch. You know what I mean? The universe that found that to be the funniest way for it to happen, not to like to go to his bank and like he wouldn't actually find out until later. There's like, nah, funny one. Boom, cash everywhere. Not just Chase has a lump sum of 1 million text message or something. It's just like straight cash money. Dollar bill, y'all. And that's where all the fucking film, money for the film went, man. They just like put it right there on the floor. Where you want it? Right here in this scene, baby. Anyway, these guys are having fun. And they just don't know what, He has one more wish stick, though. And this is something that the damn guy at the front desk kind of said. He was making dude, I swear, this movie's fucking jokes, dude. Because, like, when he's starting to, like, he's like, I have to make someone make a wish. He's like, well, the worst thing that could happen is you could die, you could kill yourself. You could consider that. He's like, he's seen it all, bro. Like people do this shit all the time in his shop. People fucking ruin their lives and their girlfriends kill each other all the time. Whatever, man. I don't know. You kill yourself, kill her. I don't know. But anyway, so, oh my God, so it's just funny, So he's got, another one. And he's like, you could tell the person that you wished on to make a wish, But again, I just feel like you really open up yourself up to risk, if they make another selfish wish, What if she would make a selfish wish or he would make a selfish wish? That's what they did, right? To the core of who they were being, Ian makes a selfish wish like, fuck you. If it does work, give me $1 billion, and I won't help you at all, and I won't help you with a single bit because you're an asshole. That's what he's thinking, right? And then there was another wish made later. So anyway, he's like, I got to take this other wish. I'm thinking like, bro, go to the homeless man for real. But no, he's like, yep, I'll go talk to Nikki. She'll help me. She's totally it's gonna be great. I'm gonna convince her. I'm gonna smooth talk her. I'm gonna smooth talk myself out of the friend zone for real this time. You know what I mean? But anyway, I don't know what he was thinking, but this was not the play. He goes home, dude, and we got to talk about, I suppose, this part. He comes home, and he's up. She's up. She's like happy. She's like waiting to see him again, basically. If I remember right, honestly, the details are maybe a little fuzzy on me right now, but like, she comes home, and she's like, she's like, she knows basically she's completely crazy at this point, and is kind of my interpretation. She like understands that it's just she's fully crazy, and that's just how it is, and he's just going to have to accept it, kind of. Like in the house is crazy. Hide the body. Sarah's in the living room, like on a chair now, like naked. It's like, oh, why would you do that? What are you trying to say now? What are you trying to say, Freaky Nikki? How freaky are you? And you know what I mean? She's just like fully embraced the fucking inhumanity. The lighter emotions are gone. She's on this fully perverse mindset now. It's just complete depravity. And it's terrifying to see put to film. But anyway, she comes home, and she's just like, I don't even know how basically she comes off as like an abuser. She's just like trying to convince her partner like that this is how it is, and this is fine. Like this is not, whatever you think it is. It's great. Like just we're gonna do this. It kind of is how it was coming off to me. I mean, there's a whole lot to it because freaking Nick, regular Nikki's still like trying to get out every once in a while. And so the craziest shit happens again. Dude, this dude sucks. He like gives into delusion again, I believe, in the scene. And he basically says like, you know what? Okay. Something like this. And she's like, yeah, I love you. And she like, freaking Ricky, like, no, I don't. No, I don't. And she does this fucking weird, wow, dude, this shit was crazy. She like, backs up and Nikki's like kind of in control. She's like, do I kill him? Do I kill him? What do I do? I have to get away from him? No, I have to kill him. She's having this weird battle of emotions, right? But they're like really battling for control is kind of how I see this scene. There's a little bit of a moment where when she experiences such extreme rejection of this existence she's in, she's able to like kind of fight with Freaky Nikki for a little bit and kind of try and take the reins. Like I think really she knows that he needs to die or she needs to die or one of the two. And like what are her options for that? And she does have a few options. She's an American in this scene here. Anyway, they're basically having this fight. At some point, Ian is going to burst in the fight in the scene when they're like, she's like getting real close to like calming him down. Ian comes in like, it's $1 billion is real. I'll help you. I'll help you however I need to help you. He's seen the light. He knows it's real, but the damage is already done. In fact, something crazy happens. She just shoots him. Gun comes out of nowhere. Boom. He's dead. And he's like freaking out. And he's like in his own survival mode. He's like, I got to calm her down. What's working? The only thing that ever works seems to be affection. I need to calm her down with affection, with that one thing that she's going to give into. And I'm going to take the gun from her. I'm going to try and take the gun from her. And anyway, so now that he's got the gun, very interesting things start happening. He's able to like convince, like take the gun, calm her down, and convince her that like he loves her, and she's like happy for a few moments, and she like starts to like go to sleep or something, and then he's like, you know what, I need to just go to the restroom, and she like immediately knows that he's like lying, and he like gets into the restroom and locks it, and she's just banging on the door, and he's at this moment where he's like, what do I do, and he's like, I guess I'm gonna kill myself. And he's going to shoot himself. He doesn't because he's, I guess, I don't know, not the way he wanted to go, although that is probably the better way to go. But anyway, so he goes and, you know what, he's the same way his cat died. I don't know how his cat just got unlucky, honestly, and ate the pills. This was the whole scene we kind of skipped to talk about here, but it was crazy, moment. There's so many moments when she gets unhinged, and a lot of them relate to this cat and all the lying. But anyway, how they false trauma bonded, you know what I mean? This is the whole thing that we skipped already, but we're just gonna have to move on. Anyway, he's in the bathroom. He takes a pill, takes another pill, and honestly, this is the funny part. As he's like going, mostly when he's playing with the gun, an interesting thing starts to happen that I'm not really sure what's happening. Like there's parts where I think like the left and the right brain are fighting so hard within Nikki, like Freaky Nikki, the Nikki battle. She starts basically when all of the sound is kind of like coming out, and calming down, and his mind is completely clouded. He's about to die. He's meeting God. He's like doing all this stuff in his head. She starts sounding a little normal in the background. It's kind of like ironic. She's like, if you need space, we can take space. Before she's like completely, wah, like, no, I don't want to take a break. I don't want to fucking sleep in another room. I don't want to do any of that. She like is a toddler about anything that doesn't go exactly her way, right? That's just how she is. But then once he's in the bathroom and she has no like way to influence him, like it seems like she doesn't have any way to influence him in there. She starts manipulating. She goes into like this, manipulation mode. She's like, "What am I gonna do?" She's like, you don't see this part. This is all just what she's saying. She's like, "If you need space, and we need space, we can." She's trying to be reasonable. It's all sounding good over text or telephone. It's maybe she means it this time. You know, but it's not possible for her to mean it. You already know this. The rules of the game have been clearly exposed here, I think, by now. Like, she can't uncrazy herself. She's going to be crazy when you open that door. She's not going to be reasonable. And you have to fucking get help. You know what I mean? So anyway, he's taking the medicine inside the door, and she's doing all this talking, and she's probably looking around. And she's thinking about what has he said, and she said something. At one point, the idea of the wish stick probably came up, but she was just not really ready to talk about anything other than them. But she was listening because sometimes she's going to use that ammunition against her man, right, to get what she wants, to manipulate a little bit more effectively. And so she's like just looking around the room, I presume, and she's like finds the stick, and like again, Freaky Nikki's in control because it clearly seems to have made a wish. Because after he ingests the medicine, he gets up. He takes all the medicine needed to kill him, I guess. It would take a lot longer, probably. I don't know what medicine it was. But anyway, so he takes the medicine, presumably extremely toxic and lethal dose. Like, it won't put him into, poison control mode, where it might take him like 3 days to die. Like, he's just going to die in 2 minutes. It's like, I guess fentanyl's in the house or some shit. I don't know what Anyway, but it's killing him, right? But he wakes up almost like he's on drugs. You know what I mean? It's like, did the drugs just hit? He's like happy. He's like, I'll just go love her. And he walks out, and she sees him, and he sees her, and they're in love, and everything is right in the world because these two fucking things are, this weird possession of, this one circular idea that they must achieve it, and they can see that they've achieved it in this moment, and so they, start snuggling and shit, cuddling up, and he dies. This is the only good thing he fucking did this whole goddamn movie, when he fucking died at the end. Anyway, so she just like begins weeping. She's completely distraught. Regardless of any of the other times when like the Nikki slipped out and she was terrorized by the moment. But like, she's in complete shock and loss in this moment. And she's like going through all the stages of grief. She contemplates suicide. She decides on suicide. She's about to shoot. And the spell is over. But her life's still fucking ruined. She's still the victim of this story, right? This is the crazy, we don't have to talk about it. Don't have to get that real. But this is, like the end of the fucking movie here, boys. I mean, I guess we're done. We're an hour and 33 in. I don't know how much else I can even really say. But I don't know. I will just say the character writing in these moments is really good. I probably won't talk about it unless I rewatch the film. I highly doubt I'll make a part 2. But anyway, I just found this to be a phenomenal scene. And just a phenomenal movie. I mean, and the credit choice was very interesting. She's just wailing over the credits. It's just so off-putting. It's really meant to make you feel that victimhood. We could talk a little bit more about the phone call scene. I don't know, there's certain scenes there's so much to enjoy and appreciate about this movie. I really could talk about it for probably 4 hours. But I think I'm going to take a break here, if nothing else. And if I do have anything else to say, I'll add it into the conclusion next. Okay. All right. So let's kind of summarize overall impact I feel like this film has on me. For me, definitely one of the more powerful parts I think is just the idea that the Make-A-Wish stick is definitely not the right solution. You can't just wish for everything you want to be exactly how you want it and then expect to be happy. You have to work for the genuine affection of whoever's affection you want. If they don't want you for you, you shouldn't want it. Pretty simple idea, but a lot of people seem to become obsessed with people. If, things don't work out, they get really, really distraught, disheartened, down bad, all this stuff, right? You really got to keep yourself in check, okay? You can't be super committed to outcomes you can't control. If it doesn't work out, that's not your person, and you should just move on. Pretty much the simplest way to idealize that. Again, you don't really have this cheat code, but again, maybe if you consider, certain manipulations, pretending like you have common interests, but maybe you really don't. You think you really have to be honest when you're, dating someone, when you're talking to them, when you're figuring out what kind of lives work together. This is a serious thing to consider, so just keep it in mind. But anyway, they don't really do any of this, any cheats through manipulation, we'll just call it, right? Don't do that. That's a really fucked up thing to do. It's a whole lot more we could talk about. This very negative and bad light. Maybe too much for me to want to talk about, but there's a lot of abuse that happens in this film. It's not really being, it's like some sort of demonic abuse. He does not want it, any of that, and it's just really sad to see someone go through it and then wake up and realize that that's their life. That's kind of what happens at the end of the film. And it's just like, how could you move forward in that? I really, honestly, this is something that I think is impossible. This is why I think these films are interesting, but don't let them like freak out too much about people or any problem in the world. Like, very few people are going to have the situation where like the CIA has framed you for a crime and you are going to pay the punishment for the rest of your life, which is about the most close thing that could be so catastrophic happening to somebody. Like this girl was taken and abused for like a month, months, just had absolutely no agency to do anything at all, and was just totally abused. This should be a pretty hard thing to come back from. And especially if somehow crimes ended up being committed and like you're like somehow ensnared in that, but like really you're the victim. And this is a real thing that can happen to real people. And, for me, the thing that I would fear, that, I couldn't fear really being this woman maybe, but I would fear like the CIA planting evidence that I was some sort of traitor or something. And then, somehow I'm going to prison. That would freak me out, right? Because I'm just a chill dude talking in the basement. You know what I mean? But like somehow, like if something so terrible happened to me, like what would happen to my psyche? Just imagine that's kind of what she went through in some way. Just like the worst possible thing for her happening. Just that ruins any concept of what life should be for her. It's pretty sad to think about. But anyway, it's a way to reflect on that. But anyway, that's hopefully very valuable to your life, I suppose. But just be grateful for what you have, because you just don't know when it's going to end. Mostly the time would just be probably getting hit by a bus. That's a weird thing to say. It'd probably be death. Whenever like you think you're living a great life and then you're suddenly dead, everybody fears this moment, just like they would fear, being suddenly possessed. It'd probably be fate worse than death. This couldn't happen to you. But you have to be grateful for the life that you can live and try and live it better. I think that's one of the fundamental ideas here too. It's like, what happened here? What really went wrong? Is one guy wouldn't even have the balls to say, yes, I like you, at a moment where maybe she would have considered him, or maybe he would have just got rejected, but he could move on. You know what I mean? Like, this is what honestly would have needed to happen, is you just got to move on from certain things. You can't be too invested in a certain person working out for you romantically or anything, or a job or this or that. You need to find some way to disconnect from outcomes, as long as you are finding outcomes that suit you, but you can't necessarily know what outcomes are going to happen for you. Does that make sense? This is something that is a powerful way to think about your actual life. Is you are going to have many outcomes occur, and you are actually going to have a good amount of control over most, but sometimes you just won't actually be able to get anything across the finish line, you know? And if it doesn't get across the finish line in the way that's meaningful to you, you just have to keep rolling somewhere, because eventually you're going to find an outcome that really suits you. The universe is trying to, like, I'm not a manifestation dude, but I really do think that this type of thing is mostly determined by your thinking, not that what you think creates something you want. I think that if you just keep pursuing things you want, you will find one and achieve one that you can have. And if you just keep that mentality, we're probably going to end up with a lot of really great stuff. Not everybody's going to get to the same level of outcome, but most people are going to find that they can be pretty contented with the things that they can get. It's kind of a very vague way of saying these things, because I want you to take it for however you want to take it. But, like, move toward the outcomes that you want by believing that you can have them. One, this is like a fundamental thing. Like, can I get it? How can I get it? The answers have to be yes, and they have to kind of come from within, or you kind of resist the process. That's just how it actually works. If you paint a dream where you're running, doing a certain business to make certain, to make a certain lifestyle, or be with a certain person, you will never know if you don't have that self-doubt. And then even if you're pursuing those things, you have to be able to kind of roll on whenever a specific outcome is not achieved, because you know that eventually you're going to say something and it's going to work. You're going to do something and it's going to work. And you're going to say, yes, well, I wanted that outcome too, and if this is the one that I'm getting, then it must be good, and I'll just keep rolling to the next outcome, and just keep pushing on. Life's a journey. And it can be a really fun one if you adopt some of that thinking. Anyway, but yeah, this is not really what the characters do. They try and cheat, and you can cheat a whole bunch of ways too. You can cheat in relationships. You can cheat in school. You can cheat with AI. You can cheat with AI a whole lot now, right? There's always been ways to kind of get around dealing with, what should be happening in your life. If you're supposed to be in a relationship, what are you doing to get around it? Well, I'm putting work first, or I'm putting this first, or I'm, satisfying myself another way, or, whatever. You're cheating yourself out of the thing that you probably want more, just for example. Anyway, so don't use the Make-A-Wish stick. Use your own voice and your own legs to do things that matter to you. But anyway, expertly shot movie. So much to talk about from I think just the characters and what you can kind of take from it if you want to take more or less. Yeah, but also, I just find the character choices fascinating. The big moments, the ending, the entire finale, such a ride. You're really going to enjoy it if you get there. And you're going to kind of end with, what the fuck just happened? And that's kind of what this movie was about. Is she was doing things where you go, what the fuck just happened? Why did she say that? How did she do that? How can she socially be so uninhibited? Because she's so delusionally in love. It's just an interesting little take on it. I really don't hope that most people will experience this level of craziness. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got for now. Probably, just go watch the movie. I've talked for probably more than the movie was even on. So I doubt you listen to this one. But if you did, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I just I don't know, really enjoyed the film and wanted to talk about it a whole bunch. Have a good one. See you later.